Alright, welcome back. This is episode 2 of Cool World Sweet Science. First of all, thank you to everybody who's tuning in right now. Let's kind of get into it. So, today we're actually coming to you from my hometown, New Orleans. We're at the Jung Hotel and Residences at 1500 Canal Street. Very, very nice place. Offers hotel rooms and actual apartments. So, we'll get into that a little bit later. Also, I'm going to ask everybody listening to leave me some comments here on the page, or if you want to hit me up on Instagram at the CW Pod or at my email, the CWPod@gmail.com. Let me know exactly what you guys want to know about the hotels, especially for those of you who travel for work as much as I do. I know there's some very specific things that I need when I'm at a hotel. So any feedback that you can give me, I'll make sure that I'll include that information in our further podcast. So today, got a lot to talk about. We know we got NBA free agency going full blast with LeBron making his decision, and also the Warriors making everybody want to jump off a building one more time. But we know we're going to start off in the real world. So today we're going to get into workplace automation, something that Target just announced, get into the Trump administration, and some changes they're making to the diversity policies that were in place during the Obama administration. We'll also get a quick review of the hotel and hit NBA free agency a little bit more in depth, talk about Julien Edelman, Jameis Winston, the World Cup, and finally we'll get into Deontay Wilder, Anthony Joshua, and Canelo and Triple G for September 15th. But without going too in depth, so we can get into our actual topics, let's get started with Target. So the retail giant announced recently that they're going to be switching to machines counting that cash. All right, so in all their stores, roughly about 2,000 here, they're going to switch that system that was previously done, by employees, by humans, by people, of counting cash over to machines. So we know that on the small side, talking about Target, they're saying they're going to, move these employees to different parts, have them doing different things. But let's really be honest about it. It's another route that corporations are beginning to take, and it's another step in the direction of more and more automation and eliminating actual positions. So this is a problem on a few fronts. So number one, when we're talking about the gap, so everybody should know or will know that there's a growing gap between what guys and girls at the top of the ladder, right, of the income structure is making, the corporate heads, things of that nature, and then your everyday worker and even middle management. There's a growing gap between what people are taking home, what people are actually making income-wise, but right, bills and expenses continue to rise while your average worker really isn't making much headway in increasing their financial standards. So we're going to backtrack a little bit to kind of move forward a bunch. When you think about that and you think about the concept that corporate profits continue to grow, but average wages don't increase. And as workers in certain industries, right, such as fast food, such as retail, ask for higher wages to basically be able to live on it. Because if you look at it across the board, people who are making even, twice the minimum wage, like in Louisiana, the minimum wage is about $7.25. So even those making $15 an hour, that's not enough to live a comfortable lifestyle. They can probably get by, but to be able to start building, saving, one day looking to retire, it's not going to happen realistically at that type of price point, even though the companies they work for could probably pay them a better wage, but they decide to keep that money elsewhere. Automation is even going to make that harder, because with automation, that means that positions may be eliminated completely. So you look at Walmart, and you look at companies like McDonald's, who are looking to entice more employees because unemployment is at a lower point now than it's been in the past maybe 8 to 10 years. So they're looking to increase the wages that they're going to pay out. But in reverse, they're also going to shrink down how many people are actually at work. So for the person who keeps the job, works out, a little bit higher pay, but think about all the folks who won't be working at all. And that's when we talk about with automation. So when you think about a driverless car, when you think about automated deliveries, drone deliveries, when you think about when you go to your local grocery store, the self-checkout, those are all roles that used to be filled by a person. And now that person is no longer in that role, and sometimes they're not trained to do anything else. and a lot of times maybe there's nothing else available in their skill set. So now we have somebody who's completely unemployed and figuring out what to do next, and that's going to be a growing problem as we continue automation. So that's something that I believe the government needs to address, and also us as individual consumers, we have to think about and look into as we shop, right? Are we going to shop with the companies who are employing people? Or we're going to shop with the companies that are going automated? Right now, the automated companies are going to be offered better prices, right? If they're paying out less money, it's pretty much simple mathematics. But if that's the case, and we have more people looking for work instead of actually working, is that really what we want? All right, not to get us too far, into that, but that's something that we really want to think about as we move forward. Because in America, everybody should have that opportunity, and across the world, everybody should have the opportunity to build a life that they want, and to have somewhere to go, to have somewhere to work and earn a living. And that's not something that we're going to have by and large if we keep going down this route. All right. So we're going to get into my favorite topic, right now anyway, NBA free agency. So, it's a crazy week in NBA free agency when LeBron James not only switches teams, but signs with the Lakers. All right, so as you heard me talk about last week, my two teams in the NBA, LA Lakers, big Kobe fan, so I've been following Lakers for quite a while now, and the Pelicans, right, my local team, season ticket holder. With him going to the Lakers, it's a huge story, right? And also they had another slot open for max level free agent who we thought was going to be Paul George, but as we all know by this point, Paul George decided to stay with Oklahoma City, got the bigger contract, more guaranteed money than what he could have signed with the Lakers. So you would think those two stories would end up being the biggest story of free agency, period, no matter what happened after that, until the Warriors. Right, the Warriors always coming to a rainy parade, aren't they? Why they keep throwing parades out in Oakland and San Francisco. So we're looking at a starting lineup of Steph Curry. Man, that's a slip. Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, Kevin Durant, DeMarcus Cousins, Draymond Green. Not just 5 All-Stars, 5 high-level All-Stars. Because you got All-Stars like Kevin Love, and you got All-Stars like, Victor Oladipo. So sometimes you got All-Stars who are there for that one season compared to All-Stars who are legit Hall of Fame caliber. You have 5 Hall of Fame caliber All-Stars on one team. But one caveat, Cousins is coming off that Achilles injury. So Boogie is pretty much the main reason I got my season tickets for the Pelicans. Love the guy's attitude, love his skill set, love his old school nature. When he got hurt, I knew for a fact that was going to throw a wrench in the Pelicans' plans. Now, when I first heard about the Warriors signing, you know how sometimes you see something on ESPN and you think it got to be a misprint. I haven't seen one like this since Kobe's 81 points. I remember seeing that scroll across the bottom of the screen. Bryant's got 71 points through 3 quarters. I was like, man, it must be a misprint. Maybe they mean 41 points through 3 quarters, but it was 71 points through 3 quarters, ended up with 81 points. Then, this past week, pops up on my phone, Bleacher Report, DeMarcus Cousins signs with Golden State Warriors. I'm like, it's got to be some type of misprint, a joke, April Fool's, too late in the year. But no, the Golden State Warriors signed DeMarcus Cousins. Now, when I'm coming off the Achilles injury, that's really the reason that this was possible. So, at first, trying to figure out exactly what happened, so you see a lot of reports coming out that none of the other 29 teams offered a contract to Cousins. But when you do eventually find out it's not true. So the Pelicans, the team they play for, my hometown team, offered them 2 years, $20 million a year, which is actually the perfect contract for the situation. When you're coming off an injury on a contract year, that's pretty much what you can expect. 2 years. You got your first year guaranteed, second year player option. That way, if you still need more time to get rehab, get back in the form, you have another season to extend it out to really get your feet back underneath you. Or that first year back, you've shown, I'm fully back. So opt out, hit free agency one more time. But he turned that offer down. Gets into the off season, offers aren't coming in as fast and furious. Apparently the Lakers had $5.6 million he could offer him, pass on him for whatever reason. And that's how he ends up with the Warriors. So we're going to get into the Warriors a little bit more in depth because we got to stop the narrative of the season's over. Keep in mind, there's a lot of sporting events that we go into, but for the most part, unless something drastic happens, we know who's coming out the winner. How many Floyd Mayweather fights have you bought? Myself, I'm a big Gennady Golovkin fan. I'm going into most of his fights knowing, hey, this is going to be a knockout, 6, 7, 8 rounds. You know, it's probably what we're looking at. Lomachenko, right? Terrence Crawford. When you go into one of these guys' fights, you know who's going to win the fight, but it's still entertaining. So last season, yes, ended up Cavaliers, Warriors 4 straight time, but the season was still a great season. All right, as a Pelicans fan, nobody could have predicted they would have swept the Blazers. Nobody would have predicted that the Indiana Pacers not only make the playoffs, get home, get there, and push 7 games with the Cavaliers. Nobody could have predicted that with Kyrie Irving and Gordon Hayward out for the playoffs, the Celtics make the Game 7 of the Eastern Conference Finals. So there's still a whole lot to look forward to in this next season. And sometimes you gotta enjoy greatness while you have it. So if everything works out, this Warriors team is going to be a sight to see. You have 5 guys who you at least have to respect for 3-point range. Draymond's a little bit up and down with the shooting, but he can still hit a jumper. You still got to respect it. And that's something that we have not seen. We have 5 players on the floor who can step outside, and also 5 players on the floor who could legit be all-star starters, you know, in the right situation. So let's appreciate greatness while it's there instead of complaining about it and saying the season's over. Because to be honest, most of your teams, unless you're either a Lakers fan, a Heat fan when they had LeBron, or when they had Shaq and D-Wade that first year, Cavaliers fan, maybe the Celtics, right, the Spurs, your team hasn't really had a chance anyway. When's the last time the Pacers had a legit chance to win a championship? When's the last time Minnesota had a legit chance to win a championship? Most years, there's still only 4 or 5 teams who can win a championship. The series is still great. That Rockets-Warriors series was still great. Game 1 of the finals was great action. So don't cancel the season or cancel your enjoyment of it just because the Warriors are great. It was going to be great with Boogie. They'll be great without Boogie. It's just what it is. All right. Now let's talk about Devin Booker. So guys get paid for numbers a lot of times in the NBA. Not the smartest thing to do for teams, but for some reason they continue to do it. Sometimes just the way business is going to be done. So Devin Booker looks like he's going to be getting a 5-year, $158 million contract. He's looked good, but he's looked good on a bad team. Let's look at Jordan Clarkson for not a perfect comparison, but a comparison. When you're on a bad team, somebody's got to score buckets. So a guy like Jordan Clarkson, who was averaging 15, 16 points on the Lakers, right? A lottery team goes to the Cavaliers and, you know, what is averaging? 7, 8 points. So pretty much half the production in an entirely different and what should have been a better situation. Sometimes you're going to look good on a bad team. So we're going to have to figure this out. So, you know, the highlight of Booker's career so far, 70 points against the Celtics. But what people choose to ignore is that they lost that game. What's the point in the 70 points if you're going to lose the game? When Kobe scored 81, they won the game. So you got to keep in mind that they're about to pay this guy $30+ million a year. We got 5 years. We got $150 million over 5 years. And we're not sure if he's actually, you know, somebody who can take you to the playoffs, somebody who can get you series wins. But you got to lock up that as soon as possible. Because if he is that guy and he leaves, you're a whole lot worse off. So we're going to see kind of how that works out. And we're going to get into my team a little bit. So the Pelicans picked up Julius Randle. So basically, you look at a trade, Rajon Rondo going to the Lakers, Julius Randle coming back. Same amount of money per year, $9 million. Rondo's getting paid. $9 million, Julius Randle's getting paid. Not a bad pickup for the Pels, especially after they lose DeMarcus. And they kind of get a 2-for-1. Julius Randle's a guy who can handle the ball a little bit, guy who can get people in the position, and he can put up a bucket. He works really well in that mid-post game. So that's going to be a nice addition to what the Pelicans are trying to do, especially, you know, with having Mirotic looking like he's got back on his game. AD coming back a year better, a year stronger. Same thing for Drew Holiday. Signed Alfred Payton. Got to make a Okafor in the contract. But if they really want to keep Anthony Davis moving forward, they're going to have to look to make a big move. So we got Jimmy Butler out there. We got a lot of guys who are looking to be on the move. And Dale Dunst's going to have to get creative. He's going to make some type of headway with getting the Pelicans to that next level. Because they don't make it to that next level. It's sad to say, but Anthony Davis could be on the move. Yeah, everybody knows about the mansion he just bought out in Los Angeles. He could be on the move in the next couple of years if the Pelicans don't play the cards right. Got my fingers crossed that they do, but time will tell. All right. So, like we talked about, we're going to get into a little review of the jump. So, check in pretty simple. It's got a beautiful lobby area, great bar, concierge. Don't make it too hard to check in. $50 deposit per night that you're here. So not too much out of the standard. You got valet parking. But let's get into the room itself. So I don't know about everybody out there, but for myself, main thing I want in my room is a decent view, comfortable bed, and the basic amenities. Have an iron, hopefully have a microwave. So if you go out to a restaurant, you got some food you bring back, you got something heated up. No microwave, but they've got iron, got the cooler. So if you got some drinks, you could get them in the cooler. Got a restaurant on site. As you see behind me, nice large screen TV, which is great for a guy like me who likes to watch a movie, watch some Netflix, watch some sports whenever he's in the hotel for the night. And room super comfortable. Great shower, which is massively important. When you're getting up, getting ready for work, you want to feel good while you're in the shower. Wi-Fi is nice and fast. I haven't had any issues there. So overall, great stay. It's a little bit pricier than some places, but when you get a large room and you get that bar on site, that restaurant on site, you're gonna pay a little bit more money. So overall, worth it. We'll definitely stay again. All right. Back to the NFL, and once again, we're not on the field. We're talking about guys, sitting at home. So Julien Edelman suspension, 3 games. Actually, I'm sorry, 4 games. So Jameis Winston suspension, 3 games. We got Julien Edelman going home for 4 games. People are going to be upset about that for a couple different reasons. So if you're a Patriots fan, you're just upset in general because you always feel like the league's out to get you guys. And it's a little bit murky on the issue. So he tested positive for a substance that's not technically on the ban list, but have some similar properties to other substances on the ban list. So maybe going to court. Maybe going to court to get this all figured out. But in the meantime, Julien Edelman is going home for 4 games for basically trying to get himself back on the field. So we know he tore his ACL last year in minicamp, been working his way back, looking to get back up on the field. And that's a lot of times when you see the guys get hit for the PEDs. Guys who've gotten hurt, guys who are getting older, we're basically trying to stick around in the league and earn a living. And then on the flip side, you got Jameis Winston, right? Character issue. Still a little murky on the details, but allegedly violated the body of an Uber driver one night in Arizona in 2016, and he's going home just for 3 games. It's a hard instance to really get into when you think about it, when you have character issues that I don't think the NFL should have ever gotten into. In my opinion, the guy's not in jail, the guy should be on the field. The NFL should not be in the business of punishing guys for off-field activity. They should have left that burden with the legal system, and they would have been much better off. But you can't put, Pandora back in the box. It's already out, so now they have to legislate it, and they gotta get tougher. So we know the domestic abuse policy, 6 games minimum. They may need to start that policy with issues like this, especially when you think about it and you look at the timing and just the optics of having a guy who's trying to work his way back, get back on the field, who tested for a substance that's not technically banned, going home for 4 games. Then you have a guy with a history of bad behavior, groping a woman in an Uber ride, only going home for 3 games. So it's something the NFL's going to have to look at. I'm looking for opinions and responses from you all, because I'm not exactly sure how to feel about it. But I know that if I'm in their shoes, I've never gotten into this position in the first place of legislating things that happen off the field. The guy's in jail, hey, he's missing games, he's missing work. Well, if that's not the case, and the legal system feels like it hasn't come to the burden of being able to lock a guy up, or at least put him on probation or something of that nature, the NFL probably should stay out of that also. But at this point, they've kind of made that bed, now they need to lay it. All right, now to my favorite part, and we know the whole reason I wanted to do this podcast in the first place. Let's get into boxing. So, where do we start? Right, good news or bad news? So we're gonna start with the bad news so we can get into the good news, and I'll have some fun after we talk about the bad news. Deontay Wilder and Anthony Joshua, Clash of the Titans. When they make that fight, that'll be the name of the event. But in the meantime, we got the Titans going in 2 opposite directions, hopefully circling and coming back sometime next year. But right now, July 4th, 2018, we don't have a fight made for AJ and the Bronze Bomber because of the same old thing in boxing. He said, she said. So Eddie Hearn says that, hey, I sent Deontay a contract offer. He never really got back to me. Deontay's manager saying, we got back to you on this date, we got proof of when we got everything back to you, you never did what it took to get the fight made. You never signed off on a contract. So now the sanctions myself has stepped in. So Josh was going to be fighting Povetkin, looking like the guy who failed the drug test was going to fight Deontay about 18 months to 2 years ago, whatever that was. And now we got Deontay probably going to be fighting Dominic Brazil, a guy AJ knocked out once again a couple years ago. This fight should be happening. There's no reason to fight of this magnitude with this much money, with already enough build-up between the two guys' careers. Shouldn't be happening. But the red tape of boxing gets into the way of the fight again. So anybody who doesn't know Deontay Wilder, heavyweight champ, born and raised here in America from Alabama. And then we got Anthony Joshua, the UK's champions, actually unified. And now we're looking at another delay in the fight that should happen. So hopefully everybody gets their head out the sand and makes this fight the next go round after the Brazil and Povetkin fights. But really, who knows? But it's another black eye for a sport that cannot get out of his own way a lot of times when things are so easy and obvious when we never get them. That's really the best thing about all the sports that we do have, that we pay attention to, the NBA and the NFL and the NHL, MLB. Teams eventually meet, right? Or at least everybody gets the opportunity to put themselves in a position to meet. Somebody wins, somebody loses. In boxing, everybody loses when something like this happens, all right? And that allows us to move into the good news. All right, September 15th, we got Canelo Triple G #2, which I don't like. Should be Triple G's name, #1 in the banner. Guys got the belts. Guys got the better record. In my opinion, he's the better, overall boxer, right? But Canelo's the money man apparently, so they're gonna put his name first. Now this fight is very interesting for a couple reasons. So first, we know it's a reschedule. So the fight was supposed to happen on May 5th, but Canelo failed 2 drug tests back in, I believe, January, February for a banned substance. Suspension came, fight was canceled. Triple G had to take another fight in the meanwhile. Huge pay cut compared to what he was going to make in the Canelo fight. That guy out in 2 rounds, but now we're back on for September 15th. In my opinion, in that first fight, Triple G won the fight. I scored the fight 8 rounds to 4. It was a very entertaining fight. But at the end of the day, the fight should have went to Triple G. And it's another example of why boxing and the sanctioning bodies and the authorities around boxing are the ones who can fix this with doing a better job of educating the judges, holding judges accountable for bad decisions, and making sure that the promoters don't have any influence on who's actually judging the fight. Right? I don't know if maybe we need to outsource fight judging to the media ringside. Maybe at this point, right, a Twitter poll. It might be better than what we got going on with some of these judges. For those of us who watched ESPN last week, Roberto Ramirez and Alexis Angulo, we have a fight, very competitive, and honestly, Angulo controlled big chunks of that fight in a lot of ways. And somehow we get to the scorecards, we got one judge with a shutout, 12 rounds to nothing, and a couple other judges who was 11 rounds to 1 or 10 rounds to 2, and that was not the fight that I watched. The fight that I watched was a much closer fight. I'm talking 8-4. I can maybe see 9-3, but there's no way that fight was a shutout like it was on one of these professional judges' cards. And that was the main issue that we saw in the Canelo Triple G fight, where if you scored it a draw, I would hugely disagree with you. But at that, if you really look at it, I might give you a little bit of leeway. But there's no way Judge Bird could see a fight that had Canelo winning 10 rounds out of 12 was what I think she had. It simply didn't happen. And a suspension doesn't really mean anything if we're not going to back that up with holding other judges accountable to bad cards. You do your job incorrectly, there needs to be consequences to it, right? Because there's consequences, it's just not for the judges. There's consequences to those fighters who, a guy like Angulo who put on a great performance, who should have gotten a much closer decision. Now he looks like he got blown out in the fight that he was actually super competitive in. And that's the same concept for a guy like Triple G. He had an undefeated record, had a streak going, and although he got to keep his belts, that's a blemish on his record that shouldn't be there. He should still be undefeated. And that's more money he should have been making in that next fight. So originally when this fight got rescheduled, he was going to take a 35% cut of the rematch. Now for this reschedule, he's actually taking 45%. But that could have been the case on May 5th. And then if this was going to be a trilogy fight, we could have been looking at a 50-50 split of the bag. So we have to hold judges accountable when they're doing things incorrectly, and we have to look at the sanctioning bodies and look at the promoters and make sure that they're giving us a product that we can trust, and we're not depending on knockouts so we get the right winner. Whether we get a knockout or the fight goes 12 rounds, we should get a legitimate winner in each one of these fights. And that's what I'm hoping to see on September 15th. Much better judging, more risk taking. So in the first fight, you didn't have a lot of risk taking from Canelo or from Triple G, but this time around, we got a lot more bad blood. So we noticed that in the lead up to the first fight, a lot of respect between the two parties, but after the failed drug test, after the fight cancellation, Triple G was upset, has said a lot of things, putting Canelo in a negative light, and at this point, Canelo's upset. So he said this is the first time he's going for the knockout. Hopefully this time around he actually does that. Now based on his history, I don't see that happening because he's had fights against a guy like Cesar Jr. where he could have went for a knockout if he really pushed for it, but instead, the fight goes 12 rounds. Same thing in the first Triple G fight. He wasn't going to get the knockout. He probably would have got knocked out. And this time around, same concept. He goes for a knockout. He may end up going down before the final bell. But if the guys hold true to their words, we're going to have a big action-packed fight on September 15th. I plan on being there. Hopefully you're going to be watching. And the post-fight, we're going to make sure we get that up as soon as possible. In closing, once again, I just want to thank everybody for tuning in. Like I said, leave me any reviews, comments, any feedback you have for me, because we're looking to make this thing bigger and better as we move forward. Any topics that you feel like I'm skipping out on, like for example, I know we talked about getting into the World Cup. Honestly, you don't want to hear about the World Cup from me. All I really went to the World Cup looking forward to was Ronaldo, Messi. They're both at home in their very nice houses. So for me now, we just got Brazil left with Neymar. And I heard about the kid from France, so maybe we got to look into him a little bit more, give him a little bit of a shout out on our next podcast. But anything that you want posted about, anything you want me to talk about or address, leave me a comment. I'll make sure I get into it in the first part of our video next week. Y'all have a good one.